Savory as they may be, as dangerous as they may be, as public menaces as many may see them, they simply don't meet the definition under federal law. And so she was sort of hinting that the government may want to rewrite that. You see in the picture here on the right of the screen is Jeremiah Cottle. He invented the bump stock. I traveled to Tennessee to meet with him, and he demonstrated for us just how these work. And he has insisted all along with that the single pull of a trigger does not release a spray of bullets. It requires an extra pull of the arm. And told me just yesterday that he continues to want to sell these. He sold more than 700,000 over the years that they were approved for sale. And the ATF, under the Obama administration, made that decision that they were legal. And now it appears that the Supreme Court has agreed with that judgment as well.
Devin, thank you. And of course, that horrific moment from 2017. Investigators say there were several of those bump stock devices that were used to carry out that killing. Some 60 people. This country, we've seen a lot of mass shootings. This was another level, and that's why it had that bipartisan support behind the ban initially. Let's bring in our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas. From a practical standpoint, Pierre, what does this mean going forward?
Well, this obviously is going to concern many in law enforcement. As you said, the Trump administration and the Biden administration have been pretty clear that these bump stocks, in practical terms, even though the Supreme Court ruled that technically they are different, in practical terms, this allows a weapon to fire a tremendous amount of rounds. And we know that assault rifles are the primary weapon used in many of the mass shootings. So law enforcement will be looking at this, again, deeply concerned that, again, people who want to commit acts of mass violence will now be able to buy these things across the counter with no problem whatsoever.
Pierre Thomas, thank you. ABC News Supreme Court contributor Kate Shaw is joining us as well. And Kate, could this be open to challenges going forward? What's the future here?
Well, the ATF could try to do something different if it wanted to. I mean, the fundamental problem here is that the conservative majority, in the opinion by Justice Thomas, really focused on the words of a statute. And of course, that requires Congress to change if they're going to give the ATF different authority. But I do think you have sort of a theme in this opinion between the majority and the dissenting opinion, which is that the majority really views itself as the sort of the final arbiter of all legal questions. And it says there's a statute, and we're going to decide what the statute means by reading the words closely. There are even some images, right, diagrams in the opinion of how these bump stocks work. The dissent says, well, really the expert agency, the ATF, is the body that we should trust to decide what kind of firearm policy is required, consistent with the broad statutes passed by Congress. And of course, here the majority has the votes, and so it wins. And so this regulation, again, as you've said, a Trump administration regulation falls. And I suspect we are likely to see more decisions along these lines where agency decisions get overridden by the conservative majority on the Supreme Court.
All right, we will see how this plays out. Kate Shaw, thank you, and to our entire team. Again, the breaking news just moments ago, the Supreme Court ruling the ban on bump stocks is unlawful. We're going to send you back to regular programming now. For some of you, that's Good Morning America, and our coverage here on ABC News Live and abcnews.com continues. And then I'll be back later this evening with our entire World News Tonight team. Thanks so much.